The morning fog still hugged the ground like a stubborn ghost when it all began. Cedar Hollow Estates, too pristine, too polished, sat at the edge of my 50-acre ranch, a glittering illusion of order encroaching on something wilder, older. As I stood on my porch, mug of lukewarm coffee trembling in my hand and a legal notice clutched in the other, I stared at what they had erected overnight. 10 feet from my kitchen window, a towering steel-oiled derrick clawed at the sky, its rhythmic groaning and mechanical hum vibrating through the ground beneath me. A violation, a desecration. Loretta Baldwin, president of the Cedar Hollow HOA, drove past in her pastel-pink golf cart, wearing a smug smile and an even smugger blazer. She gave me a wave, the kind of wave a queen might offer to peasants on parade. Nearby, Tom Rivers, the HOA's treasurer, and Loretta's most loyal lackey slapped high fives with a man in a reflective vest. The sheriff, Caleb Dorsey, stood off to the side, squinting at a permit he claimed was valid but which I had never seen, much less signed. That derrick had no right to be there. I'm Cole Winslow, 55 years old and a rancher by blood, sweat, and grit. I've weathered more storms than I care to count, natural and legal. My land was mine long before Cedar Hollow came into being. I bought it outright 30 years ago, when the land was nothing but dirt, wild grass, and coyotes. Back then, there were no trimmed hedges, no mailbox mandates, and definitely no HOA bylaws. Just open sky and the freedom to breathe. But that freedom was now under attack. 3 weeks earlier, a clipboard-wielding man showed up at my fence. He wore timberland boots and an HOA badge that gleamed under the sun like a threat. He claimed to be surveying the area for a shared resource initiative, specifically for Phase 3 of their community oil project. He handed me a folder stamped with Community Resource Zone. My name was nowhere in it. I laughed, until Ellen Murphy, a sharp-eyed neighbor with a low tolerance for BS, quietly handed me a leaked email. It spelled everything out. Loretta's plan to extract oil from my land, referring to it as an untapped revenue stream. What they didn't know was that my deed wasn't just ironclad, it was geological bedrock. My mineral rights went with the land, and they were clearly mine. Still, trucks began arriving. Heavy machinery rolled in like an invading army. Loretta crowed on social media, celebrating the dawn of a new, prosperous chapter for Cedar Hollow. I called every number I could find, HOA offices, local officials, but no one responded. Sheriff Dorsey came by once, scratched his head at the drilling and muttered, "Looks off, but it's not my call. That'll take a judge." My lawyers Nora Haynes, Rick Delgado, and Carlos Trujillo reviewed the permit and called it what it was: fraudulent. But the legal system crept forward like a turtle in molasses, and every day that passed allowed that derrick to pump deeper into the heart of my land. Then I found the map. It had been doctored, plain and simple. Someone, likely Loretta, had redrawn the boundary lines to make it look like part of my ranch was inside the HOA's jurisdiction. A forged map, slipped through the system with the help of a disgraced clerk I'd once helped investigate for land fraud. And there it weighs, mails boasting about the untapped potential, promises of kickbacks, whispers of backdoor deals. I ordered 5,000 pounds of industrial-grade concrete, claimed it was for barn repairs, and had it delivered quietly to Ellen's place. She didn't ask questions. I spent nights walking the land, mapping their illegal boreholes. 3 main ones, a trench running 30 feet deep, all marked with arrogant little orange flags. Loretta drove by again, waved like we were old friends. I waved back, smiling while my mind ran calculations. At 3 a.m., my motion sensors lit up. A contractor, flashlight in hand, crept onto my land, laying down piping like a thief in the dark. I watched it all from the grainy feed of my cameras. The cement was ready. The trailer loaded. By dawn, I was sealing the first hole. 6 hours later, 2 boreholes were filled. The concrete flowed like slow vengeance, hardening with every hour. Loretta sent her lawyer, a slick suit named Frank Wallacine, a luxury SUV, to serve me a cease and desist. I served him my deed. Boundaries outlined in stone, not ink. Then came the lawsuit. The HOA tried to claim my ranch was a communal asset, theirs by proxy. Nora countered with a trove of evidence, maps, drone footage, emails. The forged documents alone were enough to stall their entire operation. The judge, stone-faced, issued a temporary injunction. Drilling stopped. Temporarily, Loretta lashed out. One morning, I found my truck tires slashed, the rubber gouged and shredded. No cameras caught her, but I knew it was her. She was losing and she didn't know how to fail quietly. I installed more cameras. Watchful eyes in the trees, by the gate, in the barn rafters. Then it happened. While pouring cement into the sixth and final hole, my auger struck metal. Not pipe, something older, harder. A hollow clang rang out, echoing like a warning. I dropped the scope down the hole. It was a steel chamber. Military grade. Turned out, decades ago, my land was used by the Department of Energy as part of a Cold War fuel storage initiative. Records buried, forgotten, classified. Loretta's drilling had compromised a sealed federal site. Within 72 hours, the feds were on my property. SUVs rolled in, badges flashed, and men in suits took over. My ranch turned into a restricted zone. They weren't angry at me, they were grateful. My concrete had preserved a relic of history. Loretta, on the other hand, was done. Her press conference meant to paint me as a rogue lunatic backfired spectacularly. Her own board members turned on her, leaking emails and backroom deals. The corrupt clerk was indicted. The forged maps became Exhibit A in a growing pile of charges: fraud, trespass, environmental violations, and now federal interference. She tried to vanish, but subpoenas don't care about your weekend plans. With every sealed borehole, her influence crumbled. The cement became more than just a physical block, it was symbolic. A monument to overreach. Eventually, her home went to auction. I bought it in cash. On her former lot, I raised a 30-foot flagpole and lit it with floodlights. At night, the beam stretched across her old lawn like a searchlight. I installed a plaque at my gate, mounted beside one of the sealed pipes. It read, "Know your bounds. Heed your deeds." Cedar Hollow changed. Carlos took over the HOA, rewrote the bylaws. Cookouts returned. People laughed without fear of being fined. Kids chalked the sidewalks without citations. Life came back. And my ranch? Still here. Still mine. No rig could drill through legacy. No HOA could rewrite the truth. The land remembered who it belonged to. And now, so did everyone else.